I'm sure we all expected this in 2025. A recruiting battle between Hugh Freeze and Bill Belichick.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's Recruiting Thursday, so we are joined with Brian Smith. He hosts the portal that is Locked On's recruiting, transfer portal, NIL show. Be sure to check out the portal for your second listen today. We'll talk about Brian's grade that he gives Auburn for the spring window, as well as why is recruiting at the high school level slowing down nationally. But let's start with this heavyweight battle between Hugh Freeze and the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick, as they are battling for Travis Burges, the quarterback from Grayson, who you and I have talked about each and every week. He told reporters that it's a 50-50 toss-up between Auburn and North Carolina. Brian, who do you give the edge to? Hugh Freeze or Bill Belichick?
I don't know if I give an edge to the coaches, but I tend to go with what the parents want, and the parents want Auburn, from what I'm told.
Sure.
So, unfortunately for Bill, unless they got something I don't know, he'll end up at Auburn. That's my projection. I'm sure that just breaks the heart of all your listeners. But look, for Belichick to even be in situations like this already is a good sign for North Carolina, to give them credit. They don't do that great in the Atlanta area. They get a few kids, but that's Auburn's hub. That is their extended city. And they get 5-6 kids a year out of the Atlanta area minimum. Now they've got Kenyatta Watson, who's got all the Atlanta ties. They could get 10 kids from Atlanta. It wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
If Auburn doesn't win the battle, I'll be surprised. The only thing is, why hasn't Burgess made the decision already? That's my only question. And I not that I'm going to have access to this. I'm curious what the NIL numbers are for School A and School B. If that matters, I really have no idea. I've never asked Travis, and I've never asked anybody else. But how much does that play into it? Because for those who don't know, UNC has a war chest now, allegedly for football, but they've never been serious about football. I need to see it for them to get a splash guy that's a D tackle or something, and getting a quarterback would be a big part of doing so as well.
Yeah, I mean, do you think, and we've talked about this before, like strategically Auburn pursuing Travis Burges, it's because he's like the best of that next tier, we think. And we think he's underrated and you're getting a value out of him. And that's why Auburn didn't pursue or heavily pursue any of these high 4-star guys or even 5-star guys. They did early on, and then they kind of backed off, and Auburn didn't make the cut because it seemed like the Tigers weren't ready to play that NIL game because of their current situation on the roster. Like Travis Burges, I mean, I don't care if UNC has a war chest. Are they going to throw it at him? Are they going to throw like a higher percentage of what they have towards Burges than what Auburn is going to? Like, I don't even know if that really matters, Brian.
That's the other question. How much is the young man and his family motivated by NIL? From being around Travis, I don't think it'll be the number one thing, because he has a rather large chip on his shoulder.
Yes.
Where he's ranked, about how he's been recruited, especially because he's a state champion at Grayson.
Right.
For those who don't know, Grayson is not just a good football program. That is one of the best public school programs in the United States. So he knows what it looks like, and he kind of feels like he's slighted. The only other thing that I'll add is he told me when I interviewed him a little back, was it a month ago at Elite 11, he said that he was curious to see what happens during the spring evaluation period, which just started. That'll go through the end of May. That's a big deal if somebody else gets involved, but I think he's kind of tired of the recruiting too. So unless somebody like, I don't know, Ohio State offers or something, these are probably the final two.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the relationships have been formed for sure. And he talks a bunch about Auburn staff and Kenyatta Watson and Ken Austin and a lot of those guys. Whenever I read something about him, he doesn't really talk about, based on what I've seen, like he doesn't really talk about the relationships with North Carolina that much. Like he talks about the pedigree of Bill Belichick, which makes sense. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating dynamic. But it does seem like I like Auburn's chances here. We'll see for several different reasons. But do you think the timing matters with this? Because, like, let's say, I don't want to speak for you, but I think he'll commit before his senior season at Grayson starts. And then you and I have predicted that if he does what he did at Grayson again, he's going to shoot up rankings because now people know who he is and people are paying attention to him. That ranking changes. Does it change the NIL situation? Does it change, what he wants from a program, whether it's from a guarantee standpoint or a spot on a depth chart standpoint, whatever it might be? Does it change the situation? It's like, does timing matter here?
I would imagine that it does in some capacity, because again, it may not be the primary, but if he goes out and just kills it after he commits, let's say he commits to Auburn, there are going to be other schools that are going to come in and offer, hey, I don't know what you got from Auburn, but here's what we would do if you flipped. That could change it down the road. And that's something that Auburn is not in control of. It's not like you don't want the kid to get better. So if he moves up to like a mid 4-star on Rivals and 24/7, and he goes out and kills it the first 3 games for Grayson, and it's obvious he's better, that's where this game is, man. Yeah, you pay to get the best players. So they may have to adjust, and that's part of it. Auburn's well aware of that. This wouldn't be their first rodeo with that.
And hey, we were first. We loved you before they did. Like, that goes some distance, and for some guys it'll go further than others, but it's not everything. It's not everything.
I think that a lot of kids,
for most people,
the attention factor and the relationship building kind of go hand in hand. And again, I know from face-to-face conversation, there's a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about how he's been recruited compared to some other guys that he thinks that he can play with or play better than. So, yeah, I think that is very advantageous for the Auburn Tigers.
You talk to so many of these guys with all the Elite 11, all the camps you go to. Have you talked to somebody about being recruited by North Carolina? Because I would love to know, what is that like?
There is one.
I mean, Belichick's new to this, right? Does he just show him Super Bowl rings?
Well, I mean, he's been kind of told where to go. Like, he doesn't know anything about recruiting. And when he first took the job, at the same Elite 11, Faison Brandon was there. He's from North Carolina, like on 3, I think it is, has him the number 1 player overall.
Okay. And
he's an elite court freaky athlete. He said the first day Bill got the job, he was supposed to come to his high school, but he got snowed out. So it was kind of a weird storm in North Carolina. But he didn't know who Faison Brandon was, and Faison knew that too.
Right.
And everybody's just fascinated. We just talked about it. He's like, yeah, it's Bill Belichick. Everybody wants to meet the guy. So he's got an in because of what he's done with the New England Patriots. And I get that.
Yeah.
So nobody really knows what it's completely like, because it's more the people around Bill, and he'll do the shake hands, take photos, and that kind of stuff. But he's going to talk football more than anything else. And they've got their NIL department that handles it. It's separate.
Yeah.
Like, the difference between Bill and, let's say, Marcus Freeman and how it's handled would be enormous.
Right.
So I don't think Bill is going to be the most personable guy, but they still like the intrigue of being coached by Bill Belichick. I can't even imagine what that would be like for a recruit. And I don't blame him either.
Right. You got to listen to him for sure. But I still would be in wait and see mode. Like, does the interest in North Carolina diminish closer to signing day the more you the luster of talking to the greatest coach of all time? Like, I could see that slowly becoming less important to the recruit as December comes around. Once again, it might vary from kid to kid. I don't know.
That could be. The only way that doesn't is if North Carolina surprises and they're way better this year.
Which they could be, because the ACC stinks. Like, if they're the 3rd or 4th best team in the conference, it would look better than, other situations, just because of the nature of how, I think you can go 8-4 in the ACC and it doesn't really mean that much.
Well, I think he just got Gio Lopez from South Alabama, and he's a pretty talented quarterback.
Yeah, I saw that.
If they go 10-2 or something and make the ACC title game, would it surprise me? No.
Yeah, I'm there with you. So we'll see. But yeah, Hugh Freeze, Bill Belichick battling it out for Travis Burges. We're still giving a slight edge to the Tigers. Let us know your thoughts down below. Coming up, it seems like there's a national trend regarding recruiting. It's not just Auburn, and I want to speculate. I bet Brian's got the answers as to why. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. You can bet on the Tigers in the season opener. They're a 1.5-point favorite against Baylor. If you're just getting eager, if you feel like that line's going to slide towards Baylor's favor, my gut is that it will not. But if you want to get in on the action, you can do that. And of course, NBA playoffs, they're here. They're rocking and rolling. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA and the Locked On Podcast Network. Brian Smith, host of The Portal, here with us. So we've definitely seen it with Auburn, but this seems like a national trend, Brian, when it comes to high school recruiting right now. You're seeing less guys commit, and this is normally kind of a busier time for people to commit. And it caught me by surprise a little bit of how slow it feels because the whole dead period in July now. So it's like, is there a sense of urgency to do that before the dead period starts in just a few months? But like when you look throughout just how many like total commits there are to some of these classes, like Texas has 4 players committed to their 2026 class. Auburn has 7. And then Georgia only has 6. I think Missouri has like 3. It's kind of an interesting spot to be in. Why is this?
Transfer portal. 100%. It's the transfer portal. You got to remember, the money for NIL comes out of the same kitty. And those kids can play right now and they're experienced. No offense to the high school kids. And this is a big problem that some people have with the portal, but it is here to stay. You're in a situation where you need to win now or you get fired. How many jobs make the money that college coaches do, Zach?
Not many.
So they're going to do anything they can to stay afloat. Straight up, no ifs, no ands, no buts. And they think, at least most of the guys that I know, it's a lot easier to develop a guy that's 20 than is 18.
Sure.
They want guys that have had some proven ability, et cetera. Like we'll talk about Auburn with that here in a minute. They got some guys out of the portal that have shown they can handle being away from home. They can produce consistently and they can stay healthy. High school kids is still a more high risk, and the official visits don't really get rolling until May anyway.
That's true.
So it's on the back burner. Now, for those who don't know, the portal ends on Friday as far as players getting in, and we'll see between now and Friday a bunch of guys hop in that are better players too. There's going to be some surprises I know about. Going to make some schools mad, but it is what it is.
Okay.
You're going to lose some players. And once that little frenzy's over the next 2-3 weeks, recruiting will explode. The May evaluation period has started.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't get rolling until like the spring games and all that. Late May, you'll start seeing commitments in between like May 20th.
Spring games for the high schools, just to clarify.
Yeah. May 20th to July 4th, recruiting will be 100 million mile an hour. Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about several guys. I mean, Travis Burges being one of them. Like, it just seems like there's so many guys that have been slated to Auburn for a while, and we'll see if those start to fall over the next few months. Let me ask you this. You and I've talked about this a little bit. I think it was when we were at A-Day. It seems like Bama has picked up some momentum when it comes to in-state recruiting. Like CD Morgan has picked up some RPMs and crystal balls to go to Alabama. And this is a guy who has been kind of an Auburn lean, or perceived as an Auburn lean from the Auburn staff's point of view anyway, for a while. It seems like Alabama has really ramped it up when it comes to in-state recruiting. I mean, even in Georgia and Atlanta. Why do you think that is? And what should the concern level of Auburn be? Number one, I think they finally wised up to the obvious. Like why they were doing what they did last year, I'm not sure. And they had a great class.
Sure.
But to win in the SEC, you need SEC linemen, meaning homegrown guys, as a general rule. You can get skill guys wherever. I'm going to take the linemen that are in Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, Florida. That's just kind of how it works.
Right.
And they figured that out. Just CD Morgan's one thing, and he's a freakazoid. But like they've went all in on Anthony Jones too. And I've heard they're trending for him.
Yeah.
That's my bigger concern if I'm an Auburn fan or an Auburn coach. They're starting to go after the Atlanta linemen and stuff like that. It's just a shift. Exactly why, I don't know, but I mean, they should have done it last year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would be on high alert right now because Alabama is trending for a lot of players.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure there's been a lot of negative recruitment with Alabama, with DeBoer and all that, but it seems like, I don't know, it seems like Alabama has definitely picked it up. So we'll see how Auburn and Hugh Freeze respond to all of that. I mean, CD Morgan, I mean, it seems like definitely a priority guy. I mean, Auburn's got their receivers in this class. They've got some guys that they already like, but
he's the one guy you can't miss. He's from an hour from campus, bro.
Yeah.
If he goes to Alabama, that one stinks. There is no shortcutting that. There's no way around it. And he's a great kid.
Yeah.
Everybody likes him. He's what you're looking for. So that would hurt.
Right. What did you think about Auburn adding Hezekiah Harris's brother via the transfer portal?
Smart. I mean,
started like looking other places just to kind of see. And it's like, all right, well, we'll get your brother on the team.
When you sent me that message, I looked him up. I'm like, oh, brother of. That kind of narrows it down. He was in his bio. So
yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, this is part of the NIL and stuff because that kid probably just wants to be closer to home, probably wants to be at Auburn, probably wants to be in a situation where they got his major, et cetera, et cetera. Like it is worked out. And if you can get a pass rusher and you got to spend an extra scholarship to do it, who cares? Hezekiah Harris is really good, by the way. So I'm down with it.
Yeah, it's Austin P, Clarksville, Tennessee. So yeah, definitely closer, I would think. Yeah. So, and I'm sure the parents want them on the same team. Well, that's pretty cool. So
that makes it a lot easier for mom and dad in the travel.
Yeah, for sure. So once again, like you said at the top of the show, like where the parents want you to go, it plays a factor. It plays a factor, and sometimes that helps Auburn, and sadly, sometimes that hurts the Tigers as well. All right, you've covered the transfer portal multiple times a day on your show. What grade would Brian Smith give Auburn's performance so far in the spring transfer portal window? That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and the Fire TV Cube. Thank you to Amazon Fire for sponsoring this show. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Right after you're done here, make your second listen The Portal with Brian Smith. Does an outstanding job. So how would you grade the Auburn Tigers specifically with what they've done so far in the spring window?
There are two things that I really like. Auburn's obviously improved the roster, through the portal, but more importantly through the high school ranks. But there's a big number 3 on this season, meaning it's the third year for the head coach. We all know that's the most important year.
Sure.
It's easy to panic and just take players. They've been deliberate. They've done their due diligence, and we knew they were going to go after D-line. We can talk about that a little bit here in a minute. So I liked what they went after and how they did it. And then B, they didn't get stupid and just bring in guys that I'm like, what are you doing? There are a few schools, and I'm not going to pick on any players or anything. I'm like, is that guy really going to help you? So I like that overall, that they've got a balanced plan. Now, would I like them to get one more playmaker in some capacity? I don't care what position. Sure.
Okay.
But right now I would give them an A- because they haven't made any egregious errors and they've met their needs. That's all you could really ask. The only thing extra is finding, like if they could get another receiver or DB, whatever, that's an NFL player, that's your A+, but that's not necessarily expected.
Yeah, I talked about this on yesterday's show. Like it's always the change that's interesting, right? That's what gets clicks. That's what people write about. That's what people put videos on. But Auburn is going to be in a situation to be way better than they were last year and the year before because of the retention, because of keeping guys on on the team. And you've seen Auburn retain players at a level that's up there with Ohio State and Oregon, despite no lack of success on the field. It's been incredible. And does that change if they stumble this year? Yes, I think it does. But I think their level of retention, paired with not really getting the flashy guys, like you said, like Wheatland, an experienced linebacker who I think, at worst raises the floor of your linebacker room. And then going to get Jay Hardy, who was at Auburn, then went to Liberty for a few years to be a role player on your defensive line, as well as the James Ash kid, who I think you could put at the 3 technique or the end if you really needed him to in a run-stopping situation. I think it gives you some positional versatility on the front end and gives you depth. I don't think you need any of these guys to start, which is exactly what Auburn needed.
Yeah, they figured it out. Let's not make this too complex. We need linemen.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily have to go get the 5-star guy out of the portal. We've done it well enough out of the high school ranks, so you're not going to tick off the high school kids. That's probably something I should have mentioned too. Kids will play, and they're still bringing in portal guys. Finding that balance, man, that is hard. Because you're dealing with a lot of egos here. And people know that if they don't get enough snaps, they can't get more NIL. It's this is a very convoluted deal. It is not algebra. It is calculus.
Right.
So you freeze, and got to give credit to all the people that do the NIL stuff at Auburn. They've done a good job.
Clearly they're competitive with it, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And they're not just overstepping all the kids they brought in that were 4- and 5-star recruits. Yeah. That is a fine line, Mr. Blackerby.
Are there any guys that you kind of think were losses long-term that left? This has kind of been a discussion throughout the week, like Terrence Love. I think you can make an argument. I don't think it's the answer. Like Braden Joyner, who started a few games last year. Tyler Scott. I think he's talented, but I don't think he's as talented as the guys that are still in the cornerback room. Is there a loss for Auburn? JC Hart, we should add to the list. Is there a loss where you're like, that could hurt? Or do you kind of say I don't know. Seems like they're fine there.
If I was to take any of those back, it'd be Joyner, just because Auburn and O-line just makes me nervous, just because I've got trepidation from you, basically. It's just osmosis off you. But they're in such a better spot with offensive line this year compared to where they were a year ago at this time that I'm not worried about it too much. So really, no.
Okay.
And I don't know what their number is right now, but for those who don't know, you got to get down to 105 now with the new rule, but walk-ons count, blah, blah, blah. It's really complex. I don't even know where Auburn's at. So they probably in some ways were okay with guys leaving. I'm guessing they got to lose a few more guys like most schools do. Like Penn State's got to lose 20. So everybody's
Auburn's not that bad. Auburn's not that bad at all. I'm just kind of looking to see. They've lost more than they've brought in this window, for sure.
Which, that's a good sign. That means that your roster is not garbage and you didn't have to go out and get a whole bunch of guys. Look at it this way. The teams that made the playoff last year, except for Boise State and Arizona State, those were the kind of random ones.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those schools, you're not shocked. I guess SMU too. 9 out of the 12 weren't shocking. They built through the high school ranks and they plugged some portal guys in. That's what Auburn is starting to do. So each year they'll go down on how much they have to.
And a lot of them had transfer quarterbacks, by the way.
That's the one spot. You look at the draft.
Yeah.
Pretty much every quarterback that's going to go high was a transfer.
That's right.
It's the one spot that's kind of the anomaly. I don't know what the reason is for that. That's something I'll figure out 5 years from now, maybe. But quarterback aside, you want to build, especially in the trenches, high school. Auburn has started to do that. They've got a few transfer guys, but now the way they're recruiting the high school ranks, they don't have to do that much. So every year, instead of 10, it's 8, something like that. And that's better for your program. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Brian Smith, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Right now, anything that you can possibly imagine with the transfer portal is there. I just finished a show with John Garcia Jr. from Rivals. It'll be up later tonight, talking about the draft in the portal. There's been so many guys that are about a third of the NFL's first round are going to be transfers.
Interesting.
I didn't know that. John did that. That's some good math on Mr. Garcia's part. But you can find us all the same places you find Locked on Auburn. It's just Odyssey, Spotify, Podbean, Apple, YouTube, and you can find us on every kind of social media, TikTok, X, everywhere. So check out the Portal Podcast if you're interested in anything with roster management.
Yeah, please do it. Brian, you do an outstanding job. So be sure to check out the portal as soon as you're done with today's Locked on Auburn. Please like the video. Please subscribe. And if you're listening on audio, please subscribe and leave a review. Helps the show out a ton. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.